Welcome back, guys. Today we're gonna build the dark mode functionality using CSS and also using SASS. I'm gonna show you the basic behavior to set up the dark mode, but also some best practices that you can use in your project. So let's get started. Okay, as usual, let's start from my boilerplate where I already set up an index.html with the title dark mode, and we have also an app CSS that is linked to the document. As start, let's just create a container. We can call it content, and within it we want to have like an h1, and that can say hello dark mode. By the way, I wanna just tell you that I love dark mode. I have it like set up as you see in my editor. I have it like in my preferences, in my Mac, in my iPhone, in my iPad. Also, I have it like, I don't know if you noticed, but I have it also in my dev tool set up here. And it's so easy to set up. You just need to Command-Shift-P, and then you say like dark mode or light mode, switch to light theme basically, and I need to reload the dev tools and it's gonna switch to light. Otherwise dark is gonna be switched to dark theme. I need to reload it, and that's it. And in my preferences I can do appearance, and then here I have like set it to dark, but I can set it to light, and everything changes as well here. But my default is dark. Cool. I'll keep this open because later we can use it. But basically, let's continue. And here I'm gonna create a p tag where let's write let's switch colors. Let's say. Okay. So basically here we have like our page, and now we want to like go to implement the CSS part. So here we can make it nicer a little bit, so we can like remove the margins, and we can make it display flag, display grid, and we can do place content center and a height 100 VH. We can do the font size 25 pixels for now, and I think that's actually, let's do font family. That is like Arial, padding 25 pixels, and so everything is like a bit nicer. Okay, so basically here you see, guys, that I'm in the by default in the dark mode, and so I want to invert basically the background and the color of the text if I am in dark mode. And so the easiest part is to just add like the media query for the it's called prefer scheme, and prefer color scheme, and then change the colors of the background and the text based on that. So first way is gonna be to have like a media query that say prefers color scheme, and it's gonna colon dark, right? And so here what I can do, I can just say like I want the body to be color white, for example, color FFF, and background color 000, for example. Okay, and so now since I'm already in dark mode, I see that my my colors changed. If I was in my light mode, as you see, doesn't apply, and so the default that is not specified here, but the default is like white background and black text. So that's what happened. So here now we can like switch it, and and so the color will change. Like usually you don't want to test by changing the actual preference of your system. So in DevTools here, there is like a nice tool that you can use that is like rendering. And here you can emulate CSS media feature preferred color scheme. Non-emulation is going to use your system one. Otherwise you can force to use the light, or you're forced to use the dark theme. And so this makes so much easier, and you don't need to change the preference of your system. If you don't see this tab, that should be next to the console one. Basically always like Command Shift B, and you can just look for rendering and say show rendering, and that is gonna show it up. Here there are like other things that you can test on, but for now, for this video, we're gonna concentrate on only this emulation of the CSS color scheme. Cool. So here is like the basic approach for this. Of course, you can like have different colors. So you can like use, for example, if we do color, I don't know, color blue, let's make it ugly, basically. Yeah, color blue. And then this is going to be red, right? So if we go back and say we want to emulate, this is going to be in the light theme. So you see that the light theme now is like very ugly. And the dark theme can be the opposite. So it can be red and blue. Of course, you can like totally change the colors. Doesn't matter, like up to you and the design that you have for your website. And here we have like the exact opposite. So you can have fun with this. Now here I want to revert because my eyes are hurting right now. And so let's go back to the dark theme, which is my default. So no emulation will work fine. So what happened here? That imagine you are starting to have multiple elements in your page, and in this first way, you will be kind of like obligated, apart that like if you have different colors, right? And you have, for example, let's say that this as like a class as title, for example, and this as a class as a subtitle, right? So if you say in here, if you want different colors, and you can say like, let's create a rule for title, a rule for subtitle. You can say color lime, let's change it. And subtitle color orange red. Okay. So basically, right now we have this for also for the dark mode, because we didn't have like an override in the dark mode for this. So we can like change this in the dark mode and be the opposite. But you see that we are gonna kind of duplicate this CSS and have like the double of CSS for each property that we are defining. So it's not very like we're gonna increase the size of our CSS file according with how many elements we have, and so this is not very good as a practice. So what we can do in CSS, we can do two different things basically, just to like show you that this is still working. It's like if I go light, they're switching colors, and dark, they're switching colors again, and no emulation, they're staying like this. So what I actually want to do, let's go back to have just the body color, right? And for example here, rather than this, I can define some CSS variables. And what I can do, I want to define a primary color and the secondary. So for now, the default primary will be 000, and the secondary, will be FFF. So here what I can do is I'm gonna say that the color by default is gonna be the secondary in this case. Sorry, it's not like this. Secondary, and in my other case is gonna be primary. And in here, rather than redefine the colors for the body, I want just redefine the variables. Basically, I want to say that if the preferred color scheme here is dark, I want to invert the primary and the secondary, right? So now I did the opposite thing. So I need to just say the color was secondary. Yeah, I need to do the opposite, sorry. And secondary. Because as you know, like I'm in dark mode, right? As I show you here. And then if I go to light, it's gonna change the color. But let's keep using this one, the emulation. So light and dark. So in this case, if I have another element, for example, the title, that it was like color. Let's introduce another variable. Let's say this is like orange, as we say. Actually, let's do lime. And lime is gonna be just lime. So here, if I go to color, and here I just say I want to be lime. Here we have the title that is lime, but in here I don't need to define again the title and override the color. I just need to override the lime lime variable. In this case, the name is kind of like so if I change it to orange red, it's gonna change here, and if I'm gonna switch from light to dark, it's gonna change the title along with the other properties. But you see that in this way you can reuse basically and the lime variable everywhere you want as the primary and secondary, and you don't need to duplicate the CSS for different properties. Now the naming here is not very, I didn't choose a right name here because lime, it defines, like it describes what's the property, right? And here when I change it to orange red, doesn't make more sense anymore. So here we can say, since it's applied to title, we can say title color, or if we're gonna use it to other in other classes or elements, we're gonna call it probably something more generic. In this case, we can just say, yeah, for now we can just say title colors if we know that all the titles will be colored the same way. And so we detach the value from the variable name, and we keep it generic. So we can do it like in this way, or with a dash, depending on your preferences. Cool. So now I think we are in a good spot, and another approach that we can use, rather than override the properties, we can also use create classes, and those classes can be reused in the different elements. For example, we can create background background color, and we say that this is background color is gonna be primary, basically. Actually, sorry, secondary. And if we do just background color secondary, sorry, and color primary, then you can use, you can create also color secondary and background color primary, right? And here is gonna be color primary. So what I want to go with this, so since these classes can be reused in multiple elements, for example, we can right now remove this part, right, and reset this, and we want to remove the title. We don't need it anymore. We're gonna remove the body, and then we want to remove well, this we want to keep it. We want to remove the title color. And here, what I want to do, I want to override yes, the classes property in the dark mode. But so here, I have just one secondary and one primary. If the class says secondary, it's not nice to use primary here because it says secondary in the class name, right? So what we can do, you can create different classes and different variables, one for light theme and one for dark theme. So basically primary light, secondary light, primary dark, and secondary dark. In this way you can say in the light mode here I'm gonna use the secondary light, and and here as well light. And then in the dark mode, I'm going to use secondary dark and secondary dark as well here. Okay, so I think here everything is set up. It's not working because we need to assign, we need to use these actually classes, right? And so here what we wanted to be the background color secondary, which is white in the light case, we want to be the body. So we can just we can add the class to the body and give it background color secondary. And the same thing, we're gonna do it for the content. We just do color, you can just say color primary. Okay, so color primary, background color secondary, background color secondary, and oh, sorry, I changed the names. I didn't change the values, so of course it's not working, right? I'm just declaring twice the same thing. Cool. Okay, so basically here, as you see, we have the dark mode, and then if I switch, I'm gonna go to light mode and I have it like this. So in this way, this is another way basically that you can do the same thing. Now, I want to do something different. Imagine that you're not using plain CSS, but you're using SASS, for example, right? And so here you may have let's say up to which is SASS, but here in the since SASS is not interpreted from the browser, yes, always to be converted in plain CSS, but you're coding in SASS probably. And so what we can do, actually, let's just create a folder and put it in creating a CSS folder and add the app CSS in it. So here let's create a CSS. And what we can do is, rather than create an app CSS, we create an app SASS right? Then if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can have an extension that is called Watch SASS. That what it does is like on save of the document is gonna convert your SASS file to a CSS, and so it's gonna be very easy and to convert these files and work with it. If you're not using VS Code, then you may need to find a different way to do that. But for now, I'm gonna use Live SASS with Watch SASS. So what happened that here I can just do the same thing that we were doing, right? But since it's SASS, I don't need the curly brackets, and I don't need the semicolon, so much cleaner all the way. If you notice, automatically here I have like an app CSS, and there we go. So basically, now we have like the compiled version that is already like compiled as I want it, but we're gonna continue to work on the SASS way. So you know, guys, that on SASS we can define like variables in this way, right? And so we can say like primary, and then we say 000, and then we have secondary, for example, and we do FFF. Now, remember, in CSS, we did one version of the dark mode where we were like overwriting the variables on the preferred scheme dark. The problem with SASS is that we cannot do the same thing because, as I said, the SASS file is going to be converted in CSS. And so we cannot do the same there. One way to do dark mode in SASS is to basically reuse the CSS variables, but assigning to them the SASS variables. So basically what I'm saying is that here I can basically reuse the primary, and here I can use the secondary. And then I can remove these two. Let's go back to use just the simple light primary and secondary. And in the body, as we were doing before here, we can have, we can reuse the media schema here and have, actually, yeah, here I don't need anything. And I can say the body color var primary and background var secondary. So basically here I have the body color primary and background secondary, and what I can do, I can override the root variables, but the CSS one and not the SASS ones. Okay, so basically actually the body styling can go directly in the base, right? Because that we won't change. But we want to change these variables where the primary become the secondary in this case. But yeah, we could keep the primary light and secondary dark. Actually, let's do that. Primary light and is light. And so dark and then dark. And so here what we do is that this is light, this is light, and I just like do it again here, and I do dark, and I do like this, and here I switch the colors as I forgot before. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna arrive to be to have, sorry, it's not like this, is the pound here. Okay, cool. So what we have in the CSS that is generated from there is that, as we see, the color of the body is primary, the background is secondary, and then here we are switching the primary with secondary. So initially we say that the secondary is FFF and the primary is dark, and here we are in the preferred color scheme light, so it works perfectly. And then here, if we pass to the dark mode, says not like this, the root in this way, we can use it in the HTML, and I think it should work the same way. Yeah, SASS doesn't like the root in that way. So as we say, here is the dark theme, and then we have the light theme, and the CSS generated is the one similar to what we did previously.
That's it for today. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Happy coding! Ciao!